Today I'm going to make a really bold statement. If you're not willing to do these things, don't even consider carrying a gun. I know that may sound pretty harsh, but at least let me tell you my opinions and where I'm coming from here before you get all keyboard warrior on me. Let me walk you through these things and how I feel about them. And whether you agree or disagree, let me know after the video. Now, if you're not familiar with me, I do videos just like this, and gun reviews have been since 2014. So I'd love to have you subscribe to the channel and hit your notifications so you never miss a video from me. Let's go ahead and get right into it. First thing we're going to talk about is be prepared to be a hero. Now, this sounds good on the surface, but in reality, the situations that could arise for you to be labeled a hero are tragic. We hear about school shootings, we hear about shootings at the mall and movies and all these kind of places. So in my mind, as a concealed carrier, just because you are not lawfully obligated to step in the middle of an active shooter situation doesn't mean you're not morally obligated to do that. Now, that's easier said than done. So anybody that's been in that situation, truly been in that situation where they had to stop a mass shooter, my hat goes off to y'all, man, because we've seen even trained police officers, some on the wrong side of that were not willing to step in when they should, and some willing to go guns blazing to be able to save the lives of others. So my question to you is, you have your concealed weapons permit, you've done some training with that gun, you're a good shot, you know that, and now you're put in a situation where there's an active shooter and you're in the area, right? Whether that's at a grocery store, God forbid a school, wherever. What are you going to do? Now, every situation's different. Let's say, the cops are already there and you come in, like, hey, I have my concealed weapons permit, guys. I'm going to take care of this situation. That's probably not what you want to do. I'm talking about situations where, like, you're the first one on the scene. So you have to be prepared then at that moment. What are you going to do? And in my opinion, if you're well trained with that gun and you don't take action, to me, that is a moral mistake that could cause additional lives to be taken when you're in a position where you could have stopped further lives or maybe even 0 lives from being taken. Now again, you'll notice a couple of things that I said there. Somebody that is trained. If you have your concealed weapons permit, your very first day and you're put in that situation and you've never shot a gun before and, you have your gun on you or whatever. I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do, by the way. You should be trained with the gun in which you're carrying and you should know how to use that effectively. But let's face it, there's a lot of people that do carry guns that are not doing these things, and that's a big reason why I make these videos. Hopefully it will give somebody the motivation to get out there. But regardless, if you're not trained with that, if you're not comfortable with that, well, that may be a situation where you do want to, get out of there or wait for police or whatever the case may be. So these things are different. But again, I'm talking to people that are trained, that are willing to step in there. I think us as concealed carriers, we're willing to protect people even that hate the idea that we carry guns, and you might want to be prepared for that situation if it ever arises. What we're going to talk about is be prepared to go to jail. Yeah, unless it is a super clear-cut case from what I've read and what I've seen and just common sense, unless it's on camera or somebody was breaking into your house and the facts are just super clear, so clear that they can see it on camera and there's it's indisputable. Maybe even if it is indisputable, there is a possibility of going to jail. So this leads me into my bonus tip. If you're going to carry a gun, have concealed carry insurance. Work this into your budget of things you need, along with ammo, holsters, and everything else. Concealed carry insurance. Make sure that, they will assure that you have somebody there that you can call, retain a lawyer. If your gun is taken for evidence and you don't get it back or whatever, some companies like the USCCA will reimburse you for that gun. They provide you, up to so much money as far as in legal defense. You could protect yourself and your family from financial ruin at the same time. But having somebody there that you can call and not say the wrong thing is what you want. Now, again, I choose the USCCA. They provide limited liability protection, but they also do training courses so that way you can actually be prepared for situations just like this or even avoid them altogether. But I would say be prepared to spend a night or two, maybe three, in jail until they can figure everything out. The next thing we'll talk about is you're going to be judged by others that know you, that know that you're carrying a gun. Of course, this is going to be more of your inner circle and people you decide to tell, or maybe people you don't tell that are in your inner circle. That, of course, is up to you. But the point is that there's going to be people that judge you because you decide to carry a gun. Now, to be honest with you, I would never tell anybody to not carry a gun because they can't deal with some criticism. I would just say expect some criticism from people that don't know any better. Remember, there's people all around you every day in your life that do not recognize the Second Amendment as one of the sole reasons, if not the sole reason, that we live in a free society. So people will judge the fact that you're carrying a gun. They'll come up with little nicknames for you and whatever, man. You know, a lot of times I just play it off. But if you're somebody that doesn't take that criticism well, you may want to gain some more knowledge, man. Knowledge is a way to shut people down quicker than anything, or even use some humor right back to them. You know, whatever, however you want to play it off, just be prepared for judgment and criticism. Next one is a harsh reality, but you got to be prepared to take somebody else's life. Now, this is something that none of us want to actually do, but are willing to do if we or our families or people around us are faced with imminent danger and death. And this is something that, you know, most people don't ever want to really have to do in taking somebody else's life, but we will if we're faced with, you know, imminent danger from somebody else or somebody, you know, willing to hurt our family, friends, or even people we don't know. We will take that step, but you have to really kind of stand back and say, I could possibly take somebody else's life. And there's people that just can't deal with that type of thing. Now, here's where the whole insurance thing, no matter who you go with, some of these places actually have like mental health counseling after a shooting. I actually read this in James Yeager's new book that you know his family released for him, and it's the 4 pillars of fighting. And so mental health resources need to be available to you if you ever have to use your gun in self-defense. It's going to be something you're going to have to deal with, man. I mean, it is one of those things. Now, personally, and again, this, you know, I've never been in a self-defense shooting, thank God. But there's reports that I've seen of, you know, up to a million times a year a gun is used in self-defense. There's low numbers that I've seen, like 250,000, whatever it is. You know, if you carry a gun, you got to be prepared that something like this may happen. And yeah, you're alive, but there's going to be things you have to deal with and recourses afterwards that you should be willing and you're going to have to face. And the last thing I want to do is face those things on my own. Again, I will emphasize one more time, strongly recommend concealed carry insurance from a good, reputable company. Another point I want to make here is be prepared to not talk to the police. This is an important factor right after that self-defense shooting. The police obviously are going to come, they're going to respond, and the last thing you want to do is have all of these emotions running through your head and say the wrong thing. Now, that's not to say that cops are terrible or anything like that, but remember that line, the famous line, if you've ever watched Cops or any one of those shows, it's like any information you give us can be used against you in court. So that's why you absolutely do not want to say the wrong thing. And to be honest with you, it's one of those situations where you want to tell them, hey, look, I'm willing to comply with you guys. I just need to be able to contact my lawyer and calm down before I give you information and be able to gather your thoughts. That's super critical. And the last thing I want to talk about is not necessarily just a concealed carrier, but a gun owner as well. Don't be a backseat gun owner. And what I mean by this is don't let others do the bidding for you. Now, sometimes it's not like you can go to every single Second Amendment rally. It's not like you can go to the Capitol, you know, every single week and protest any kind of new gun legislation. But there's corporations and companies out there that are willing to do that for you for a really small price. You know, if there's new gun control laws coming to your state, dude, most of these companies, the good ones, Gun Owners of America is the one that's really, really good and active, the one that I at least support. But they have pre-written emails. You literally put in what state you're from, and that pre-written email will go to all of your representatives. So don't let others, and don't depend on just everybody else to send emails and letters and phone calls and whatever. And don't be a backseat gun owner. Take some initiative, man. It doesn't take much. And again, paying a small fee to a company like Gun Owners of America or whoever you decide to go with is one of those ways that you can use to protect the gun rights that we have. And you will start to see this more and more as you become a gun owner. Your eyes start opening up to things that you never really thought about or cared about before. And that is, gun rights are always, always under attack, most of the time from the left and sometimes from the right. So you got to stay vigilant. You got to vote. You got to make sure that you make your voice heard, because it will get you fired up a little bit when you start hearing about people wanting to take these things away from you. When you realize that this is the reason that you are free in the first place, it doesn't sit well with many gun owners at all. So don't be a backseat gun owner. If there's any additional tips that you'd like to leave in this video, dude, I'd love to hear those, and I could make a part 2 with some of those things down below that y'all leave. Whether you agree or disagree, love to hear those things down in the comments section. If you want to support what I do further, besides subscribing, you could join this channel right here, or you could actually join us on Patreon as well. Check out some of the cool tier rewards that I have. Early access, exclusive content, all of that good stuff right here on the channel or over on Patreon. I'll leave those links down below. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.